I am very worried that in the last 2 years, we have started undermining our neutrality because now we are associate members in the Parliamentary Assembly of the NATO Parliamentary Assembly. We have had delegations of NATO visiting our armed forces headquarters to have interoperability. And
Oh
you know
God.
what those nice technical words are, interoperability. I do not believe that they need us as a base, but yes, as a logistic base, yes. Because if you were to see the size of the American embassy in Malta and the size of the Russian embassy in Malta and the size of the Chinese embassy in Malta, it's out of all proportion to what they need to have in a small country like Malta.
Oh,
It
really?
is obvious that those are important in terms of what happens in Africa. And I know what I'm saying. Things that go on in some North African countries, from the central stations of the CIA and MI6, need Malta logistically. Okay, I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying of ministers going to visit Tripoli or to visit Tunis, but they come and sleep in Malta and they have their meetings in Malta. So from that point of view, we are still, I think, strategic. But I am worried that we will ourselves undermine our neutrality. And that is where I see the quality of leadership. We had a man of vision. Domintov was a man of vision, you know, and he was dreaming of our neutrality way back in the 50s. I don't know whether you know. He wrote a very interesting article about Malta being the Switzerland of the Mediterranean.
Mhm.
He actually said that, and he said that because we were taken for granted. Only recently, I was having a look at a historical document. We're now going back the Christmas Eve of 1953. Imagine. At that time, we were a colony. And you had the British governor, who was the representative of the Queen. She went to knock on the door of the Prime Minister's private residence, and he didn't find him there. So he left him a note and he told him, Mr. Prime Minister, tomorrow I intend to convey a Christmas message to the people of Malta. Incidentally, I'm going to tell them that Malta is going to become the Mediterranean headquarters of NATO. Imagine. The
That
Prime
happened?
Minister, once he got this note, yes, 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 yes. This is 1953. The Prime Minister got back and found that note. He got in touch with the governor and told him, yes, please convey your Christmas message to the Maltese people. But do not say that we're going to become the headquarters of NATO. You haven't even discussed it with us. You haven't even discussed it with the government. And the governor said, you are our colony. These are reserved matters. The Maltese have nothing to do with how their country is used in international strategic military affairs. And the NATO moved to Malta without any agreement and without even the Sixth Fleet was given facilities by the British imperial government in Malta without any agreement and without consulting or without even bothering to tell the Maltese people what was happening. In fact, one of the first actions that Domintov took in 1971 when he was returned to power is to tell NATO to leave. Said you have no agreement, we have no written agreement with you. You came here, because it was your initiative to do so, and you forced yourselves upon us. Now leave. And in fact, NATO left in 1971. I am worried. I am worried that we can undermine this legacy, and not for folkloristic or nostalgic purposes, but I think in today's world, we need our neutrality more than ever before,
Yeah.
which I repeat means having as good relations as possible with the United States, with China, with Russia, with India, with Turkey, with Greece, with France, with Britain. I'm not anti-American or anti-Western or whatever. I mean, I've been educated in the UK, in the US. I love their literature. I love their culture. But please, treat me as you say we should treat each other, with respect and with dignity. Not, it has nothing to do with geography and size.
You know, the being friends with everybody as a definition of neutrality. Do you know who the first one was that I found who said that? The first one in
Who was
history.
it, Pascal? Who
Thucydides.
was it?
Thucydides in the Melian
Ah,
dialogue defines neutrality, being friends with all and foe to none.
yes, yes, yes.
And
That
but
that
this neutrality needs to be built in times of peace, and it needs to be made in times when
yes.
you can build the institutions, right? Because the moment you become the focus point, the focal point of geopolitical turmoil, then it's too late. So it needs to be built in times of peace or
One
relaxation.
of the nicest documents I've read about neutrality was American, when the two superpowers were England and France,
Mhm.
and the US was neutral at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so
The United States had a neutrality policy for 150 years, and it served it so well, so well. The
exactly,
George Washington declared U.S. neutrality because the U.S. was a small little
exactly.
colony, ex-colony, 13 little
Yes,
blah. It was very vulnerable. So of
yes.
course, being friends with everybody, and it grew to the size it is today. Yeah.
You
Can I
know,
just
and I repeat, we are people. We are, however small, we're not a pawn. We cannot accept to be a pawn in the hands of others. Our people want prosperity, want peace. They don't want to threaten anyone. But please do not come and tell us what to do and to involve us in your conflicts and take sides, because we need to take the side of our people, you know.
Everest? Can we somehow take that mentality of Malta and install it in Brussels and make the EU a huge Malta? Can we do that?
Well, I think it's going to take a generation change, because the, the present leadership is so lost, that unfortunately they have to hit a wall, and people are going to get hurt. A lot of European citizens are going to get hurt. I mean, I remember when we had the financial crisis of 2008, and money was being pumped into the banks to save the banks and not to help the people who are losing their jobs. Now people are saying, so when it comes to weapons, it's okay to borrow. It's okay to break the fiscal rules for armaments, but for people, no. And people will resent this. People will resent this. I mean, I'm sure that there are surveys being carried out which are not being published, asking questions, how ready are you to go to war? The last ones that were held in 2023 and the 2024 showed that the majority of Europeans do not want war. They do not want to be taken over. They want to live in peace and dignity with others. But this idea of creating so much hate, so much phobia